Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Friday Junior Reddit.
Happy Friday, Junior.
Happy Friday, Junior. All right, folks. Our first and very creepy story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Impersonating Someone to Rekindle a Relationship? And this one does have a pretty heavy content warning of stalking in it. It is a pretty gross story. So, long story, bear with me. It was a hot summer 9 years ago, and I met this girl in a lounge. She approached me and introduced herself. We then talked a lot and got to know each other. She was highly attractive, and she was from Eastern Europe with a warming vibe. We hung out with a few of the other students on campus, and one guy showed interest in her. Her feelings she did not reciprocate, as he was apparently a creep. Well, fast forward to fall semester, I texted her and found out some bad news that she was staying in the creep's apartment. Apparently, she had had no choice as she came home a week early. Her semester starts 1 week later, due to familial issues and needing a place to stay. She is a damsel in distress who occasionally makes poor decisions. Anyways, she wanted me to help her, and I could feel the distress in her voice, so I drove over there. The creep kept pressuring her to make love with her, and she kept refusing. We got her bags and left, much to his dismay. She crashed in my dorm for the remainder of the week. I promised that I would always be there for her and treat her with kindness. I offered to be her boyfriend, and she said maybe after college. She sees me as her best friend and vice versa. Seems everything is going well. We tried to touch base regularly, but it was hard for two reasons. First, she changed her phone number multiple times. I know from her texting me under new numbers saying that she got a new phone. Second, I was enrolled in a demanding professional program that started junior year, and I barely had any free time. The mutual texts became more sporadic to where I wasn't sure of her whereabouts after undergraduate ended. Now, I'm not sure why she ghosted me. Texted her sporadically and no reply. Even though we were never official, we were practically a couple based on being there for each other and having amazing conversations. I googled her name and I found a repository of addresses. The second recent ones listing her name and the name of a guy whose age is in the same range as hers, so he's probably her boyfriend. Well, fast forward to the current year, distraught by how things ended, I sent a friendly letter to her current home with no return address. I signed the letter as the creep from the summer. In addition, I made calls to the address's listed phone number and posed as the creep. Some of them were about wanting to see the girl, others were about misleading the guy into thinking that the creep was having an affair with her behind the boyfriend's back. All of these calls were done through the gas station payphones from scattered regions, so the police have no way of tracing the calls back to me. Eventually, I learned that these prank calls drove a rift between the girl and her boyfriend, and they're no longer together. I haven't contacted her yet, as I'm trying to do so without coming off as a dude who wouldn't let things go. So, am I the jerk for making unwarranted calls and letters to this girl and framing the creep because she left me? All right, folks, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk?
Yes, you are 1,000% the jerk. You need to
Yeah,
drop this and leave this girl alone.
therapy. I mean, there's one word here. If OP, you are either bragging about this and you're doing this because you for some reason want to do something like a true off my chest and want to just kind of gloat over people that you were able to break these people up, or you're so unself-aware that you can't see that what you're doing is far more creepy than what the individual who you're posing to be is.
This is unacceptable on every level.
Yeah.
Like, if she had wanted to maintain a relationship with you, she would have made an effort. And sometimes people do lose touch,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
if you've reached out to her and haven't heard back, that's a sign that she's just moved on with her life.
Yeah, and what makes you think at this point in time that she would even be willing to get back together with you or even want to get together with you? it sounds like she moved on,
Mm-hmm.
and it sounds like you didn't.
Yeah, well, and you say, I wanted to get back with her without trying to come off as the dude who wouldn't let things go. You are the dude who wouldn't let things go.
Yeah.
She has moved on. And are you just going to keep sabotaging any future relationship she has because she's not with you? Like,
I mean, I read some of the comments, and that's what it sounds like.
yeah, that's kind of the vibe I'm
Yeah.
getting. And, like, that's not okay. Like, you have to let her be her own person and make her own decisions. And like you could have just instead of going through all of this, you could have just sent her a letter with your name saying, "Hey, you want to get in touch again?" No, you instead are like, "I'm going to sabotage her to make sure she's single so I can force my way back into her life."
Well, yeah. And then on top of that, think about the poor guy who he's posing to be.
Mhm.
Like, if she gets a restraining order against him or gets the police involved, he could get into trouble here. And that's, it just kind of shows how disposable he views other people.
Mhm. Well, that's a good point. It really is like other people are just there to serve him. They're all props or pawns. This girl, she just likes. Doesn't matter what her actual feelings are toward him.
Yeah.
He likes him, so she has to be his.
Yeah.
She's not a person with her own wants and needs. She is just a possession.
Yeah.
And the same thing with this guy whose name he's assumed for this. He's just it doesn't matter about him. He's just some prop for me to orchestrate this elaborate thing.
Yeah, honestly, I hope the, former friend sees this somehow, through some miracle and
Mm-hmm.
realizes what's going on here because this guy is a dangerous individual and I think that he definitely needs to go into therapy ASAP. He also needs to send letters of apologies to all the people involved with this.
Yeah,
And
and have
turn
that.
himself in.
Yeah, and then never contact any of them again. Like he
Yeah.
just needs to drop it.
Yeah. So, yeah, OP. I mean, this goes well beyond whether or not you're a jerk or not, and
Yeah,
into the territory of you need
you are,
some serious self reflection and some medical care.
and stop doing illegal
And
things.
stop doing illegal things.
Like stalking is a crime, and you know it because you're like, I use these payphones so the police can't track me. You know you are committing a crime against her.
Mm-hmm. So that's more why I think that if, that this comes across as like, I did this thing and I got
Mm-hmm.
away with it, as opposed to actually seeking any real advice here, because it just comes across as I did this thing and I want you all to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thoughts. Anyhow, take care and good luck.
Or
Well,
don't take
yeah, don't
care.
I mean,
Yeah,
go
go to
to jail.
yeah, go.
Good luck with the police finding you and hunting you down. All right, folks. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Excluding My Parents' Throuple Partner from My Wedding? And this one's not quite as heavy as the last one. It's a little less like of a serious or dire situation. I'm a 27-year-old female, and I was raised by my maternal grandparents. My parents, a 46-year-old male and a 56-year-old female, are free spirits that don't want to settle down and raise a child. Whatever, I saw them every few months when they would come by. Eventually, they would stop coming. I didn't miss them. My grandmother and grandfather were my parents. I'm getting married in March, and my invitations have all gone out. I invited my parents as guests. They are not part of the wedding or anything like that. I wasn't even going to invite them, but my grandfather asked me to please let my bio mom be part of my day. Well, about a week ago, I spoke with my bio dad. He wants a +1 on their invitation. I have not seen him in years, so I thought maybe they have another kid, and he hadn't mentioned it. Nope, apparently him and my mother have a man in his 30s that is part of their relationship. While neither myself nor my fiance are particularly religious, and I have no objections to polygamous relationships in general, I would prefer not to have to deal with that at my wedding. I told him that he and my mother were invited as a courtesy and that they had no parental privileges for me to consider. He said that excluding their partner was mean and that he wouldn't have left me with my grandparents if he knew they were going to raise me to be prejudiced. I have spoken with my grandparents about this, both sets. Nobody knew anything about this, so it seems that they were going to use my wedding as a way to introduce this guy to the families. I called him back and was very firm. I told them that I have spoken with my wedding coordinator and made sure that no uninvited guests come to my wedding. Since we are having the reception at a resort hotel in my city, they have security. I have also spoken with the manager and explained that I might have an uninvited guest trying to get into my wedding reception. He said that security would escort anyone like that off the property and call the cops if needed. All of this was relayed to my parents. Now they are complaining to everyone. I'm dealing with it by telling everyone who calls me to fight for them exactly why I'm excluding the person that they want to bring. I just talked to my mother and she screamed at me for telling people her private business. Am I the jerk? Edit, adding in that all of my guests get a +1 unless I invited them as a couple or as a family. All right, folks, what do you think, jerk or not the jerk?
I'm gonna say not the jerk, and my reasoning is because they are not out to their families about this. Like, weddings are not a place for coming out. You don't want to do anything big that's going to take the spotlight. And it sounds from this like the parents' goal is kind of to take
Yeah,
the
it
spotlight.
seems like they're trying to subsume the spotlight here, and I do think that in that respect that it was potentially a in poor taste for them to attempt this. But I think in general, like if you consider my logical reasoning here, in a lot of families, parents are divorced. They may be divorced, and so the divorced couples they would each get a +1. And so I don't really see it much different from them getting a +1 to bring to the wedding. But I do think that this in general, I think because of the nature of this, where it's not out to everyone, it would be a lot of attention drawn away from the wedding party.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like if this third partner had been part of their relationships and everyone knew, then like it would be like just courtesy to invite them.
Yeah.
But because like the mom is now throwing a fit anytime OP tells why they're not inviting the partner, it sounds like they wanted to keep it a secret from everyone
Mm-hmm.
until the wedding and then bust out and be like, "Hey, here's my partner,"
Yeah.
and that just seems very attention seeking.
It does. So I feel bad because it feels like OP's been put into a bad spot here. They're inviting people that they didn't even really want to invite to the wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're also causing a fuss on top of that.
Well, it sounds like their parents legitimately do not care about them. Like they
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen OP in years by their own choices. They just gave OP up because they didn't match with their, freewheeling lifestyle.
Yeah.
And now they want to steal OP's wedding too.
Yeah, and so I do feel like OP's getting the short end of the stick here. It would have been just less trouble to not invite them, period. That's
Yes.
kind of my thoughts.
So, just to reiterate, like I think it's totally fine to invite any all members of a well, it wouldn't be a couple enough, I guess a throuple or
Yeah.
whatever in general, but
It
not if
needs
they're
to
trying to get
yeah.
attention, not if they're going to use this as their big coming out moment.
Yeah. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for defending my husband's comments that he made while he was drunk? And this one does involve homophobia. So, my husband and I have been married for a few months now. When we first got together, dated a year, married after a few months, everything seemed great. He was fun and supportive of my dreams. He often puts my dreams before his. And I wouldn't trade him for the world. My best friend is the same. These two are the most important people in my life, and I've always thought that they would get on well. My best friend is a lesbian and is in love with me. I have always ignored this because I didn't want to hurt her. Everyone but my husband knows this. My best friend got tickets to see a popular K-pop girl group, and my husband loves this group, and I decided to invite him since most of our friends in the group were going. I saw this as a way to test the waters between my husband and best friend. The concert was magical. It was so refreshing to dance with my friends as we waved our light sticks in the air supporting the group that we liked. After the concert, we went to a bar. This is where the conflict kicks in. A friend in my group, Leah, starts to ramble on nonsense while she's drunk. Leah walked up to my husband and said something along the lines of, It's great that you can be supportive of BFF and OP's relationship. I would never be okay with such competition because, as they say, no one can pleasure a woman like a woman. My husband was confused. Up until now, he and best friend had been getting along great and bonding over their love of the K-pop group. Well, Leah went on to share with my husband the nature of my best friend's love towards me. I scolded her for this because my best friend was clearly uncomfortable about what she just revealed. Husband started to yell at my best friend. He threw homophobic slurs at her along with his shot glass. He looked as if he was ready to attack Leah and best friend, so I knew that we needed to go home. Husband never acts like this at all. He was drunk, and clearly this had impacted his critical thinking skills. I was disgusted by these behaviors, but I knew that he could not control it. Husband and I talked, and we agreed that I should not speak to my best friend or Leah anymore. I blocked best friend, and it was so hard for me. Best friend reached out to me through a mutual friend. She asked why I blocked her. I explained to her that her love for me was damaging my relationship. I told her that I was not angry at her for being gay, but that it was not safe for her to be around my husband. I explained that I had to pick between her or him to keep both of them safe, and that he was my top pick. She said that it was gross for me to side with a homophobic person. I told her that she was stupid to believe my husband was hateful to any group of people, and I hung up. Well, my best friend told all of our friends, and now they will not speak to me. They claim that my husband has brainwashed me and that I was a jerk to my best friend. Am I a jerk? Please do not hold back. If I am the jerk, please give me advice on what to do next. I'm gonna pull out this old phrase. It's from the Roman era. There's truth in wine. So what do you folks think, jerk or not the jerk?
I'm gonna say OP is the jerk. Her husband is still accountable for his actions even when he's drunk. And
Yeah.
I've said this before, I will say it again.
Yeah.
If you become belligerent or aggressive or say homophobic slurs when you're drunk, don't drink.
Well, so I agree with you completely, and I hate cutting you off here, but if you say homophobic things while you're drunk, chances are
you mean it on some level.
that you mean this, right? So this isn't like a fluke. Oh, I had bad judgment. It means that he has these feelings internalized and he's saying these things because he means them.
Well, not only did he say homophobic slurs, which is gross in the
Yeah.
first place, he also threw a shot glass and looked like he was ready to throw punches. And OP says that she cannot have them together because they won't be safe, presumably because she thinks her husband's going to beat up her friend.
Yeah.
That is not a good situation, OP. Like, if your husband is an aggressive, abusive person, like, that's not good.
And I know that you've been just recently married. You've known your husband for like a little over a year versus your best friend, which you've known for a lot longer. Consider the history here. You do not know your husband that well. A year and change is not enough time to really get to know someone and figure out whether or not they truly are homophobic or not. Because chances are, if he was homophobic, he wasn't going to just come out and be homophobic, right? Because a lot of people view that as distasteful. So he's not just going to be like, oh yeah, by the way, blah blah blah. He's gonna hide that until after he gets married, and that's what some of the people do, right? They present the best versions of themselves, and finally when you marry them, they actually are not all what they presented them to be.
So you want advice on what to do next, and my advice would be to really look very closely at your relationship. Do you think your husband has it in him to hurt people?
Yeah.
If you do, which you seem to, that is a big red flag.
Mm-hmm.
And he clearly has homophobic tendencies. Is that a value that you can live with? It shouldn't be, but
Yeah.
you really need to think long and hard about these things. And, whatever you do with your friends, that's irrelevant. Like, you can hang out with them or not. You can make up with your best friend or not. But the key thing is your husband is an issue here. You
Yeah.
really need to think about that relationship.
Yeah, your husband needs to either go into counseling, into therapy, or any number of things like this, but this does not seem like a healthy relationship at this point in time. Like, he can hopefully there's like hope that he can change, but maybe he's like a terrible person. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if someone was like, because I've had a lot of guy friends, I've had female friends too who aren't straight, and so like if someone had been like, oh, hey, this friend has a crush on Amber, like I'm pretty sure Brian wouldn't start throwing things and yelling homophobic slurs at them or whatever. Like that's just not a way that people are supposed to react to those kind of things. Like you should still be able to be civil.
Yeah.
He can be uncomfortable with that because that is an uncomfortable revelation.
Oh, I
But
don't even know if it's that uncomfortable. Like, what does it even matter?
well, he might be concerned that like I mean, it sounds like
Well, I mean, like to me, it's like if you trust your spouse, right,
yeah.
then you don't have to worry about whether or not they're going to cheat. And like the thing is, like, there's nothing. If someone's going to cheat, in my opinion, then they're going to cheat. There's not. It's not. They're only looking for an excuse or a reason at a certain point, right? And so if you're really worried that someone doesn't, love you enough or is going to cheat, then they're going to do it anyways, right? Or if they're that type of
Yeah.
person, right? So either someone's going to cheat or they're not going to cheat, and whether or not you're jealous about this, or know that someone else likes them in that way, isn't going to change that fact.
Yeah, well, and that's true and a good point. But I do think a lot of people do feel uncomfortable with the idea that, other people might have crushes on their partners, and it's fine to feel some initial discomfort. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but you have to, that's kind of a you thing you have to work on and not go to, I'm gonna throw shot glasses now.
Yeah, but for sure, like violent reactions are not the way to go. So that's our thoughts. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber's got a joke.
What did the thief say when he went to rob the glue factory?
The thief who was going to rob the glue factory approached the glue factory and said, I've got sticky fingers, so you better give me the glue because I've got sticky fingers.
Close enough. This is a stick up.
It's a stick up. And I've got licorice spice. Alright, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you're all having a happy Friday, Junior. And I hope that we'll all see you here tomorrow.
Bye.
He said that security would resort. Oh, he said that security would resort to whatever means were necessary to keep them out.